Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our second webinar on pulse electromagnetic field technology. And our theme is the Limitless You, becoming the Limitless You. And you'll find out why as we continue on with our recording here. And I just want to say, I want to welcome, we have a lot of different people here. We have people who've been using the PEMF system for many years. We have people who've been working with this company, and they're here to learn more and to hopefully join the chat and to share some of their experiences. We also have people that are very new to PEMF and want to learn a heck of a lot more, even if you are one of those people that you've had your IMRS or your Omnium for the last month, because Tom and I, we were at the Bulletproof conference, so we want to welcome all of you from the Bulletproof conference that are here with us live right now. And then I was also in Portland, Oregon, where I got to speak to, oh gosh, nearly 70 practitioners. So it's really awesome that so many people in the health and wellness world are wanting to bring this technology to their patients, not only because it optimizes whatever treatment you may be getting, whether it's acupuncture, an injection therapy, an IV therapy, a chiropractic adjustment. In fact, Tom and I just got through with a very busy day. We saw 25 patients today, and pretty much every single person that we work with will get an 8-minute, at least an 8-minute treatment of the PEMF, simply because we know it's going to optimize their experience with whatever treatment we're giving. We also have people internationally, because this particular modality, this particular company is in like 30, 40 different countries right now. So we do have people from around the globe that are joining us. And in our first webinar that we did at the end of September, we had well over 800 people view that. And one of the things that's good about doing this a second time is there's just so much to learn. I mean, literally, when you own this, you have this as part of your home healthcare revolution, it is just something that there's so much to learn, and that you're going to hear from other people, their experiences. And we just want to say that in an hour and a half or 2 hours, you just can't learn everything about it. In fact, I'm still learning about PEMF 7 years later. And we use it, like I said, on just about every single client who comes in. And one of the things that Tom and I, when we planned our first webinar, we really care that people know the value of this, literally this piece of gold that you have to use whenever you want to, 24/7. And we're inviting all of you, we have quite a few people already that are going to come to Santa Fe to join us live, and to give you like 6 full hours of clinical experience of how to use it on your animals, how to use it for travel, how to use it for whatever particular ailment that you may have. So that's going to be on January, when Thomas?
I believe, if you'll give me a second.
It's the first Saturday in January.
January, I actually have
January
9th.
January 9th. January 9th, which is going to be really fun because you're getting the opportunity to check out our center, Santa Fe Soul Center for Optimal Health, which we built actually over 10 years ago. And you're going to be able to try not just our PEMF technology, but get a feel of how we work with our patients, the kind of care that we give our community, and all the people that fly in to work with us, because we do a lot of leading edge therapies that people can't get wherever they're living. So this is a great opportunity for you to join us and to learn even more. So if I haven't done it already, my name is Robyn Benson. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine. I've been practicing for I'm actually in my 24th year. And I have to say that I'm just as passionate, if not more so, than I've ever been. And I have to say that I know that I've kept this level of excitement about my career because of my own personal health and the investment I make every day in keeping my body healthy. And I must say that my health up-leveled in a huge way in 2008 when Dr. John Gray came. He was a keynote speaker for our nonprofit event, the Santa Fe Soul Foundation. And he's the first one who told me about this technology. And he said, Robyn, you have this center, 4,000 square feet, I hear, and you need to have at least 7 or 8 of these in your center, because everyone needs to know about this technology that's revolutionizing people's lives in terms of every cell in their body, in terms of their brain function, in terms of helping with stress management, which we all have a little bit of that, or some of us have a lot of that in our lives. We're dealing with pain, we're dealing with chronic illness, and this is gonna be a big shift, you'll see, if you just make this investment. But it took me a while, because just like many practitioners, we are kind of bombarded with every latest, greatest, you name it, You know, it really lands here, or someone is introducing me to something new and awesome. And I have to say, I'm very skeptical, and I was really skeptical about using this initially. It was a little bit of a learning curve, but it's really, truth be told, it took me 2 months to get my first mat. And it was because many of my patients were at that event that John was at, that he spoke for several hours. It was an incredible evening. And he said, Dr. Benson from Santa Fe Soul is going to get this great technology. Even when I said, John, you know what, I'm really not interested. I have every gadget you can imagine. And, you know, a lot of times I'm disappointed and things don't really stand up to what they say they do. But I can honestly say this one has surpassed every possible way. In terms of all the greatness of it, I'm like, this has surpassed what I thought was possible. And now 7 years later, and pretty much something I've used every single day of my life, it rocks. And I can just say, in terms of personal sustainability, if you keep your cells healthy on a regular basis, you're going to feel great. So I'm joined tonight with my fabulous clinical assistant, Thomas Myers.
Howdy, everyone. Yes, absolutely. This is Thomas Myers. I'm Robyn's clinical assistant. Like Robyn, it's something that we use in the practice every day. The PEMF technology is such a boon, such a blessing to all of our patients. You know, no matter what it is they're coming in for, we feel that it's something that everybody must have to make the treatments work better. Or even as a standalone, it works perfectly fine to do a lot of the things you're about to learn about. If this is your second time through, you will probably hear some of the same things you've heard before, but we're tailoring this to some of the people that have experienced the mat and want to kind of dive deeper into some of the more specific applications and specific components of the technology and how it relates to just, you know, as they say, making you the limitless you, really upregulating the core aspects of your physiology that will allow you to function optimally.
Why don't you say a little bit more about the Limitless You?
Yeah, we use that. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie about a guy who takes a pill that basically allows him to access 100% of his brain power. And of course, you know, it yielded all these amazing benefits, and he went on to do these amazing things. And you know, there are things out there. While that was a fantasy, there are things out there that allow you to optimize your physiology, allow you to access higher realms, higher functioning, whether it be brain function or cellular function. The PEMF definitely is like a limitless tool. You know, it does allow you to access higher states of consciousness via upregulated mitochondrial function and upregulated circulation to the brain. You know, you get better oxygenation, better you know, brainwave entrainment integration. So this does help you to become clearer, smarter, you know, healthier, have more energy, heal faster. And you'll find out why as we move along through the presentation. We're going to go into the physiology a little bit and talk about the reasons why this optimizes you.
Excellent.
Shall we,
so how about...
Shall I put the slide share up?
Sure. And just before, just to kind of give you all a sense of our timing here, Tom and I are going to go through our slides pretty quickly, just again to review some new material and to go over some of the most important points, like what is the real juice, what is the essence of the power of PEMF technology and why it's becoming a household name. Like people know what PEMF is. I mean, you read about it in magazines, and it's certainly in my book. Many of you that have invested in a PEMF device have received my book, but it's a book that came out in June of this year, and it's basically a manifesto of my 23 years in practice. And I have to say that the first chapter is called, Are You a Frequency Traveler? So as you listen today, think about that question. Are you a frequency traveler? And the point being here is that we're energetic beings, and what is most important in terms of our overall health is that we have a healthy electrical system around our body so that our biology and our chemistry can be optimized. And we'll help you understand that better. So anyway, I'm very excited about this book. And for all of you that have read it and all your comments, I just want you to know I thank you so much. And I hope that everyone can get a copy of this and to learn about the whole spectrum of what it means to be healthy in this time of great change, in this electrified times. These are electrified times that we're living in, and we need a healthy antidote to that. So all those unhealthy frequencies that are really undermining our health on a cellular level, we need to find out ways to restore that healthy electrical system so we can function highly and optimally, to be limitless, and also to have good moods. Very much affected by these frequencies that we're exposed to in day-to-day life. Okay, so Tom, I'm ready. If you want to go start with our first slide.
I think also I want to just advance that to the biohacking conference that we went to. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. So Dave Asprey's Bulletproof conference we went to in, I'm trying to say like three things at once. In Pasadena, California. It was our second year being there, and we were in the expo hall with 5 of our PEMF devices. And Dave Asprey has brought together, for the, I guess his 3rd year, major movers and shakers, people in the health and wellness world giving their best information on how you can biohack. So what does that mean? That means ways in which we can optimize, again, our brain function, our sexual function, the ways in which we're sleeping or not sleeping, and how we can improve the quality of deep rest that is so essential to how well we're aging. So it was fun. A lot of great speakers. Speaking of John Gray, he was there. It was fantastic to see him. In fact, I have not seen him personally since he was here in Santa Fe 7 years ago. And he had a great relationship message, and he is still a big fan and uses PEMF technology. So anything else you want to say? And Tom, I mean, I know that we have some other people who are becoming Bulletproof coaches. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get going with our first slide.
Yeah, it's a wonderful program. It's something that they just started to basically train people on the concepts of the Bulletproof lifestyle. You know, among those are, of course, the diet. You probably are familiar with Bulletproof coffee and maybe some of the supplements that they sell, but there's a whole curriculum of things that make up the Bulletproof lifestyle, and among them obviously are what they call biohacking technologies. So this is definitely something that is among the biohacking technologies. PEMF has its place in the pantheon of optimization, biooptimization. So you know, I definitely invite you all to visit the website, the Bulletproof Executive, and of course there's a lot more information about the whole you know, the devices and the diet and things like that. And of course you can always talk to me or call me here at Santa Fe Soul, and our contact information is on the presentation later, and I'd be happy to share with you some of these concepts. And of course, when I become a coach, a certified coach, be happy to work with anybody that would like to become bulletproof. So let me go ahead, Robyn.
Okay, so is that slide, can it take over the whole? I think
when I'm talking, it will take over.
Okay, good. It takes
when
over
you're
the whole
talking,
screen.
they'll see
Excellent.
you.
Okay, so there's the picture of us at the Bulletproof Conference. I just want to just say that Dave Asprey, a good friend, he was actually here in Santa Fe the end of August and did a fantastic presentation to our community in our event room. And you can check that out on the Join the Self-Care Revolution YouTube channel or Santa Fe Soul channel. So definitely look that up and get to hear what he has to say. A lot of great information.
Okay, we're going to talk about specifically the IMRS technology, or the Swiss Bionics products. And they are called the Omnium 1 and the IMRS. And this is basically, these are the benefits at a glance. This is what these devices will do for you in terms of, you know, these are the bullet point conversation, talking points, whatever you want to call them. And obviously, we're talking about something that's going to help boost your immunity, help reduce pain, help with pre and post athletic events. Say if you're a marathon runner, or maybe you play high school sports, whatever it may be. Certainly optimizing your cellular function before and after an event is a good thing. You can literally biocharge your food and water, or in a sense upregulate the cellular activity in food and water, which is really important, because that's what goes into making up our cellular integrity. Our water comes from the water that we drink. So, you can charge the water before you drink it. It will enhance your brain and creativity, and we'll find out a little bit more how and why that is, and can help to reverse disease patterns, and even help with animals. They're certainly subject to the same disease states that we are, and need the same kinds of regulations that we do as well.
And there are lots of veterinarians around the world that are also using PEMF. Absolutely. And certainly all the home users have pet stories to share.
So let's talk a little bit more. There's some more benefits at a glance. It may be a little difficult to see this, I'm not sure. But again, they go on to talk specifically about endorphins, serotonin, oxygen absorption, protein synthesis. These are some very, very specific and researched benefits from using PEMF. Ion exchange at the cellular level, that's something we're going to talk about in more detail, and why that's really, really important to have for a variety of reasons, most of which, if you can't do that, you cannot exist. You will not survive if you cannot exchange ions across the cell membrane. And then, of course, protecting you from the dirty electricity that surrounds us. It's a really big problem.
So, as many of you know, Dr. Oz did a feature on PEMF in 2011, which was really huge. He did his own research. He loves PEMF. He calls it a cell smart technology, which it absolutely is. So this was really awesome for the whole field of PEMF to really get it out in a big way and to share all the different uses of it. Like Tom has mentioned many of them, but also to see all the different PEMF devices that are out there. So it's fantastic that this is available still. So you can go to Dr. Oz. Here's the URL that you see right here on the slide, but also just go to Dr. Oz's show, and you can just plug in PEMF and you can see his segments. It was fantastic. Dr. Pollack was on it. He happens to be an expert on PEMF, and several other people. So I highly recommend that you watch his segments on PEMF. Speaking of scientists or well-renowned figures in the field of science and medicine, here's another gentleman some of you may recognize, Heisenberg, of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, not Walter White of Breaking Bad. The statement that he made a rather long time ago is something that is quite obvious today, in that electromagnetic energy is the fundamental energy upon which all living organisms depend. They knew that then, and we know more than ever now how important that is to our survival. Did you want to talk a little bit more about that, Robyn? I love that, Dr. Heisenberg. It's taken me 7 years to really pronounce his name, but it just makes so much sense. I mean, that if we get this piece, like I consider it, I'm asked and I'm interviewed all the time, like what is like the biggest aha in your 24-year career? It's really understanding this. So for me to have the best impact in how I'm serving my clientele is to know how can I help people understand the importance of reconnecting to the Earth's frequency, knowing that that's the holy spark, that literally is the energetics in which all of life depends, and we need to be in that environment as often as possible. So what's real and what's true right now is that we're spending gosh, close to 95% of our entire life indoors. And let me tell you, when I have some athletes, I have some real outdoorsy kind of people who come in and say, oh my goodness, I'm outdoors a lot every week. And I said, well, journal it for me. And sure enough, they come back, almost everyone, and say, my goodness, in a whole week, I was really only outdoors when I was running or when I was hiking, or, just literally to get in my car, to go to work, and then to get back in my car, go to the grocery store. And it's amazing. Until you really assess that for yourself and really take note of it, you're not aware of how much you're indoors. Especially now that we're into the fall season, we tend to be indoors more, and there's all kinds of toxic indoor pollution, so that undermines our health even more. So this is also, when I've given talks all over the globe, I always ask, where do you feel the best? Like, where do you feel the best? Where do you just feel like you're living in the moment? You feel joy. You're not worried about time. You're not worried about your responsibilities. It's always outdoors. It's always outdoors. It's being near the ocean. It's hiking. It's going on a trip, to some exciting place on the planet, going to see one of the wonders of the world. That's what really turns us on. So it's no wonder that, 25,000 species are going extinct right now because of all the influences that Thomas is going to go into in a moment here.
Yes, the 5 inconvenient truths. This is something that we put together a long time ago, and this is not only just EMF deficiency, which is what the bulk of this presentation is about, but also some of the other things that contribute to what would be considered an extinction event would be poor food quality, poor air quality, poor water quality, overpopulation, and then of course the EMF deficiency. So, while we're talking about doing or surrounding yourself with healthy electromagnetic fields, you also have to take into consideration that you still need to eat healthy. You still obviously need to breathe clean air and drink clean water, have a healthy lifestyle. It's not one thing that's going to fix everything. It's a combination of things. And again, I want to remind everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them via Chatwing. We'll see them and we can answer them as we're going along.
If some brave soul could just click in and just let us know that you're here and that you are seeing these slides. Tom, the way I'm seeing it is not the full screen, but if that's as long.
Talking, do you see it now?
Okay, got it. Okay,
when you're
yeah.
talking it, you won't see it. They'll see it miniaturized, I believe.
I'm just not seeing the whole screen. That's okay. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. So I know you want to talk about this one.
Okay, so this is a slide that we made, and I feel like this is the essence of why this technology is so important. As you look at this slide, yes, we are living in electrified times, and it's very dangerous to our health. In fact, the World Health Organization has a new disease category called electrohypersensitivity. And so these are people who cannot go into a Starbucks with Wi-Fi. They can't be indoors. Like we used to have, when we first opened up years ago, people had trouble being here because within, 2-mile radius of our center, there's about, several hundred cell towers. In fact, I want you to take note of this. You can go to this website, antennasearch.com, type in your address and find out how many cell towers, how much electromagnetic pollution is in your close proximity. So when you look at this, just to simplify it, we are designed to live in the green zone, in that lower quadrant. That's where, again, we feel good. We feel we're in the present moment. That's when we have energy. That's when we feel like truly, we feel vitality. We feel just feeling good. I mean, it's really challenging in today's world. A lot of people are not feeling good. They're not feeling joy. And what we're seeing and what we see pretty much every day here in our clinic, people are coming in and they're living in the red zone. And some people have been in the red zone for years. And what happens when you're in that place for that long, your body starts to break down. Like we cannot have our on button on 24/7 and think that we're going to be okay. I mean, we, the yin and yang, I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine. As much as we need our get up and go kind of move, that's our masculine side, we also need proper digest and rest. Like, we need to digest and absorb our foods. We need to sleep deeply, to go into that deep REM sleep. And because of Wi-Fi being on at night in many of our homes, that is definitely disrupting our circadian rhythms. We're not getting that sleep that's so essential to producing human growth hormone. And we're aging rapidly, even when we don't know it. And let me tell you, our children are being impacted greatly. So many children on the planet are suffering from sleeplessness, obesity, diabetes, because when you're in these frequencies on a regular basis, it's a static electricity, and therefore our cells are not working. We're not absorbing nutrients, vitamins, water even into our cells in the way that we need to, and we're certainly not detoxifying. So when you look at this, the yellow area is actually where I see a lot of my clients. They're kind of in that middle place where they're not sleeping very well, might be under a lot of stress, their hormones are not working. They're kind of they're not in a total crisis in the red section, but they're kind of moving in that direction. So they come to us. People are coming to us with, you name it, anything from migraine headaches, coming in with like palpitations,
Absolutely.
vertigo. What do we see? We say almost everybody has a digestive issue of some sort, even our children. Food intolerances, anxiety disorders, like crazy. People who are suicidal. I mean, we just had 2 clients today that even just said, I feel suicidal. And you don't feel that unless you're in that red zone. And let me tell you, it can blindside you, and you can be there and not even know it. Your body's alarming all over the place. And this is what's really cool about PEMF, especially when you have one at home. When you do use this mat, which is a Tesla innovation, 8 minutes twice a day, it helps to brings in that green. It is that green earthing energy. It is that parasympathetic nervous system nutrition that you need for your cells every single day, every day. Anything else you want to say about that slide?
Well, I think you've pretty much covered it all. I mean, it's important to realize, of course, that the MAT, IMRS, does put you into that green zone. It's so nearly impossible to find that in a natural state anymore, unless, of course, you live in the middle of nowhere, or by a lake, a river, ocean, out in the middle of the forest. You're going to be subjected to some pretty unhealthy electromagnetic smog. So, aside from taking the occasional hike or trip to the beach, having this device in your house allows you to access these healthy states on a daily basis.
I just want to talk about urban areas for all of you that are listening that might happen to live in New York City, Paris. What other big cities do we have? San Francisco. I mean, literally, people who live right in urban areas are plugged in pretty much 24/7. It's hard to avoid all the frequencies, even when we're outdoors. And we also, just in all the studying and all the learning about how these frequencies are affecting us, it was interesting when I was studying MS and other autoimmune diseases. Gosh, there are so many now. In fact, so many. These are called civilization diseases that we did not have like even 10, even 30, 40, 50 years ago. And certainly the levels of autism, asthma, Alzheimer's, a lot of it has to do with this foundation deprivation of not having these healthy earth frequencies. So it's not surprising when I was just recently in New York City, I was staying with 2 girlfriends, and they have, a lot of my friends have other homes in the country, right? They have to get out of the city just because it's just too much. You're just feeling overwhelmed on a regular basis, and we need an antidote. But for a lot of these people in urban areas, it's great when you have this health device, this wellness device, this home health care revolution at your beck and call anytime you need it.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to restart the PowerPoint.
I could go on to the next one while you
goes up on me.
The true evolution. So just what we've seen in the last 130 years, it's amazing with this industrialized time, how much more chemicals there are. I mean, people like Dr. Hyman says we literally are swimming in a sea of toxins at any given time. Not only are we breathing them in from indoor pollution and from our detergents and the chemicals that we're putting on our skin, but they're very hard to avoid. So it's really important that in addition to using this technology, the PEMF technology, the key importance of hydration. I can tell you honestly that the people that are more affected by EMFs typically have a chronic illness, whether it's a Lyme disease, rheumatoid arthritis. I have to say that every single person I've tested with rheumatoid arthritis has Lyme disease. It's pretty common. You know, some people think that 1 out of 2 of us have this. And so the EMF effect is really great because we weren't living in these frequencies over 100 years ago. And it was Tesla. And again, this is the real genius that we're celebrating today because this is his innovation. Each IMRS mat has 6 Tesla coils in it. And that is what's creating this healthy field. And it was Tesla who said in the late 1800s, 1886, I believe, that the advent of electricity would be a blessing and a curse to all of life. A blessing and a challenge. A challenge might be a gentler name, but pretty much for anyone with any type of dis-ease, any type of mental, emotional instability will be helped by just restoring your body on a cellular level to these healthy frequencies. The more you get in the green zone on a day-to-day basis, that will help pull you out. If you're in the red zone right now, it will help pull you out into the yellow zone and then into the green zone. So Tom, are you ready to go here? I think I see that slide.
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about the body electromagnetic. Now, that's something you might want to touch on with regard to acupuncture.
Okay. Well, I just want to, as I was beginning to say, when I first was introduced to this technology in 2008, late 2008, I was, gosh, at the end of, I was training for marathons. I was not sleeping. So this is my big story. Everyone who uses the IMRS or the MRS PMF technology has some big story of transformation. So for me, I was not sleeping a lot of my life, and I had no idea until I started sleeping once I was exposed to these healthy frequencies. First of all, when I got this mat, I just used it with my patients, and my patients were like, Robyn, there's something so fundamentally different with your acupuncture treatments when I'm on the mat. And I'm like, wow, there's got to be something to this that I'm really not understanding. So I started using it, not knowing it was going to be good for my sleep. But what happened, we're just using it, 8 minutes twice a day, and actually being able to use it with my clientele. It was amazing. I had the most unbelievable sleep of my life in those first 6 weeks of using the MRS. And I was in the red zone. I had no idea because again, I was stressing my body. I was seeing, 80 to 100 patients a week, running marathons, young children, traveling a ton. I still travel a lot. And my body, my hormones were a mess. And I just didn't even know what kind of crisis was going on in my own body. So it took a while. But the more I committed to just that 8 minutes twice a day, it was just remarkable to see the shifts that happened to me. Not only was I sleeping deeper, but my hormones were working better. My ADD got resolved quite a bit. I kind of like my ADD. There's some there's some good things about it, but it's so nice not to be running around the way in which I was. I was really kind of scared to be in that crisis mode. And I'm just so fortunate that of all things, that this technology was the game changer for me and continues to allow me to live this full-on life. I just got back from 8 straight weeks of travel, and pretty much this is like my antidote. I take it with me. I have other PMF devices, and of course, as you realize, I was just with 3 weekends in a row with people who have the PMF mat, or I was at the Bulletproof conference and sharing this technology with hundreds of people. So this picture kind of says it all too. on the right hand side, as you're looking at this, that body you see, again, we're electrical beings before our biology and our chemistry really work. So what that really means for our electrical system to work, we need the holy spark. So we need the healthy electromagnetic field frequencies of the earth. We need water and we need minerals. Like bingo, that is like the most important thing. That's like the formula to feel good. Of course, healthy food as well, and movement. But I'm just saying, on just a foundational way of living vibrantly, we need a healthy electrical system. So if you start restoring that in your life every day, then you're going to you'll start noticing that your body will feel better. I mean, even people who are having trouble with fertility issues, not only do we need to determine if there's food sensitivities or balancing the hormones, but when people are in this field on a regular basis, your chances of getting pregnant are much greater, and you also are just going to create a healthier baby. Now, do we say you can use this with when you're pregnant? We say no. We have to say that because nobody wants to have an issue and say that it was because of this device. So the only times, and this is one of the reasons we're doing the second webinar, because we really want to touch upon things that we did in the first one. The only times that it's recommended not to use the PEMF device is when you're pregnant. Also for people who get, serious, what do they call, tremors, and Thomas, what is my word here? People who have, have what?
Seizures?
Seizures, thank you, seizures. However, there are a lot of people who have seizures that this has really helped, but these are just the only areas in which we recommend not doing PEMF. Also, I had to learn the hard way. I ran a marathon in Prague, and I didn't realize how dehydrated my body was. So I do not recommend, when you're ever dehydrated, it's not a good time to get on the mat. You are going to amplify or are going to have a much more profound effect on a day-to-day basis when you use your PEMF when you're well hydrated. So what we like to do with our patients is give them a cup of water and put some minerals in it, or just a pinch of sea salt. That will help hydrate your body, and you'll have a much more pleasant experience with your electro tuning device, your PEMF.
Let's talk a little bit about the magnetosphere. This is essentially the magnetic field around the Earth that is created by the core of the Earth, and it protects us from the solar winds. It's also what generates the electromagnetic field of the Earth that affects our biology. The ionosphere, you can see the graphic, and there's an inner field. The ionosphere is also an area where there's a specific biological window for cellular health, and you can see that on the graphic. It's from 0.5 to 25 hertz. It's generated by lightning strikes. That's what kind of keeps that particular biological window going. If you've ever wondered what creates the ionosphere and keeps it going. Now, in a perfect world, this is a healthy environment. What we're all dealing with that interferes with this biological window is what's called electrosmog. That's kind of a newly coined term or phrase, and it's created by all of the artificial electronic devices that we've created, such as cell phones, laptops, cell phone towers. Even the AC current that runs into your house is a very unhealthy form of electromagnetic smog. There's other things too. When you're flying in an airplane, the airplane itself is lined with all sorts of electrical conduit that creates an unhealthy magnetic field. You're trapped in this unhealthy magnetic resonating chamber that's 30,000 feet above the Earth. So you're not only in this unhealthy environment, you're also subjecting your body to radiation that is coming from the sun because you're much closer to it. So, this is why we need to subject ourselves to much healthier frequencies, to much healthier environments, because this type of behavior, this type of activity is leading to, or is the root cause behind a lot of dysfunction. Now, I know Robyn wants to talk a little bit about the next slide, the earth frequencies.
Just so you know, when you're using the IMRS with the sound and light, that it also is entraining your brain frequencies, because in these electrified times that we're living in, and many of us are living in that red zone, we're running our beta, and there's beta, alpha, theta, and delta waves. And what's really cool, when you're lying on the mat, you're actually getting the exact frequencies that your body needs, and certainly what your brain needs at the time that set time of day. So yes. Every single cell, your heart, every cell in your brain, every cell, every organ needs these frequencies, that biological window that Thomas was just talking about. So when you want to have improved brain function, you want to get rid of brain fog, this is a great way to do it. And for so many people that are, again, are really highly stressed and are living that beta all the time and not getting the deep restorative rest that they need, use the sound and light. It's fantastic what that will do to entrain your brain and to actually feel what it's like to have alpha running in your brain, theta and delta. I mean, delta, some people just go through their whole lives, they don't even know what that really means, and the good moods that come out of that. So again, this is just another aspect of your device that's fantastic to bring in these healthy frequencies that optimize these different wave lengths in your brain.
So here's the Limitless David, or the David on PEMF, on a healthy diet, the David subjecting himself to healthy electromagnetic fields, taking his shoes off, walking on the beach, walking on the earth, and generally living a very, very healthy lifestyle whose cells function normally. This is what we once were in terms of, giving our bodies the best chance at survival, but this is kind of where we are today. As a result of course, these unhealthy electromagnetic fields, and also poor diet, GMOs, there's a host of things that contribute to this sort of downregulated physiology.
That's a nice way to put it, Tom. I like that. I'm going to read a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. Walk as if you are kissing the earth with your feet. Walk as if you are kissing the earth with your feet. I just posted this not so long ago and had so many people like it and tons of shares, but that's just such an important message. And then also another quote that I really love is by Charles Simons, who says, "Sickness is the vengeance of nature for violating her laws." So we don't want to violate nature's laws. That's such an important message.
We're going to talk a little bit about specifically what this is. Now, again, if some of you have been with us before, you're seeing some of the same things. I promise you we're going to get into some new material in a little bit. And specifically, we're talking about pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And specifically, two particular devices called the IMRS and Omnium 1, made by a company in Switzerland, who pretty much were the pioneers at the developing the home models, the home versions, the PEMF devices for everyday use, for everyday people. Prior to this, obviously, there was a lot of research R&D done through NASA. This was used during the space program for astronauts, and also in the medical industry, post-surgically, and also as a way to just help the body to heal faster. And some of the reasons for that we're going to go into now. We're talking about the cell, metabolism, and PEMF. There's more than just metabolism going on or at stake with regard to the effects of PEMF, but this is a cell. Cells basically need nutrients, and oxygen in order to function and to survive. And they expel waste products. And our bodies don't need them, so we need an efficient way of getting rid of them. And we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about those ion channels I mentioned previously. Do you have anything else you want to add on?
I want to say that a second, that this was probably one of the most important slides in the electrified time slide, both of these slides. If you really understand these two, you get how invaluable this technology is to your life, especially in these times that we're living in. Short of living in an astronaut Schumann resonance outfit, seriously, we need to have protection. We need to help ourselves, thrive when we're being insulted, so to speak, with life. Going out to restaurants, movie theaters, everywhere you go right now, they're hard to avoid. And it's not something that we're going to adapt to as humans. We are going to have to find ways to optimize ourselves and take care of our bodies in new ways that we haven't had to think about until now. So if you get this slide, if you understand that if we have healthy cells that look like grapes as opposed to raisins, that's the best way for me to describe it. You have health. You are producing healthy cells on a regular basis. However, what we're seeing is there's a lot of inflammation going on. So this is really key. Okay, Tom, we'll go to the next slide.
The Electroporation slide, this is one of my favorites. This is essentially how this technology helps you. And I'll go into even more detail in the next slide, but you're seeing an actual visual of an electromagnetic field applied to a cell membrane. You can see that it puts little pores or holes in the cell membrane, allowing for the influx of materials into the cell and the removal of other materials outside the cell membrane. Now, if we want to dig a little bit deeper into that as to what's going on in the cell, we look at the next slide. This is a graphic of your cell mitochondria, which is one of the most important parts of your cell because it is the place where we generate energy. We make energy there. We burn fat. We generate body heat. And it's through these ion channels that allows for the influx of these little hydrogen ions that we get from water, where we get the hydrogen. And that little hydrogen ion also mixes with, and you can see NADH, NAD, FAD, FAD. That's just reduced riboflavin and niacin. And that's when they say B vitamins are good for energy. This is how they're good for energy. That hydrogen ion goes in, gets kicked off the NADH, and allows for the transfer or the conversion of ADP to ATP. That's how we make energy. So the reduced NADH and FADH are reduced niacin and riboflavin. They lose the H and convert ADP to ATP. So again, I wanted to repeat that so it's clear that's how we make energy. We also, as you can see, burn fat. In the presence of oxygen, we make other things such as hydrogen peroxide. And when those hydrogen ions are through doing what they do, they need to leave the cell membrane or leave the inner mitochondrial matrix. And they do that via a hydrogen ion pathway as well. And in the process, generate heat. That's how we generate body heat. If these ion channels aren't working and they are electrically charged, they require a potential, an electrical potential, which is driven by electromagnetic fields or can be driven, upregulated by magnetic fields. Then what happens is we have no available hydrogen ions to make energy. We can't generate heat. We can't burn fat for energy because we're not able to transport fatty acids into the inner membrane. We can't transport the B vitamins, these reduction products, into the inner cell membrane matrix in order to do all this. And then basically what happens is these ions build up and then the cell membranes tear. The mitochondria die. We have fewer mitochondria. And when we don't have enough of them, we die. So that's how important it is to have a healthy working mitochondria, electromagnetic fields that are healthy upregulate these processes, and the ones that aren't really are quite deadly to the mitochondria, and they damage the cell membrane potential and do not allow for the transfer of these agents in and out of the inner cell membrane matrix.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much every known disease to man, there is a problem right here in terms of the mitochondria, in terms of the ATP production just not happening. So as you look at that slide, for all of you that are athletes, for all of you that want to be become more of the limitless you want to have more and more energy, more brain power, this really helps you understand why that's going to happen if you are continuously sustaining the production of these healthy cells, that you're producing ATP on a regular basis. This is what happens every time you're on the mat for just 8 minutes at a time. That's all it takes, because your cells are like batteries. And when you're charged, you're producing ATP very well, and you're also detoxifying. So it's also why, for athletes too, why if you produce lactic acid after a strenuous event, or even just if you're training and you're pumping iron, that you're going to actually move that lactic acid. You're going to actually help your recovery immensely just by using this PEMF system.
And I wanted to point out, there are a lot of people that I put on the mat that report to me that they start to feel warm. And I want to point out that this particular device does not create heat, unlike some other devices, I guess biooptimization devices, I'll call them that. The reason that the people are feeling heat in their body is because they're experiencing mitochondrial uncoupling. Remember, we talked about that hydrogen ion leaving the inner cell membrane matrix, and in the process creating heat. That is due to upregulated ion transport systems, allowing for their mitochondria to start uncoupling, and people, I hear it time and time again, people start to feel warm. So this is a really good indication that it is doing something at that level. It's not a heated mat. It is actually causing your body to create metabolism in a very, very true sense of the word. So we're going to talk a little bit about what makes this technology a little bit different than other PEMF devices, or what makes this biologically active. And that is the type of waveforms that you see in the Swiss Bionics products. And there are 2 types of waveforms used in these devices. One is the Sawtooth, and I wrote there it allows for a greater biological window for expanded health benefits. And that's specifically allowing those waveforms Robyn talked about, allowing the engineers to incorporate those waveforms into the pulse. It's really difficult to stack waveforms or to get a variety of different therapies in one setting. So the Sawtooth allows for the production of this 0.5 to 25 hertz biological window, in addition to creating these brainwave states as well. The theta, delta, alpha, beta are incorporated into the mat technology, as well as the sound and light, which we'll go into a little bit later. Now, the square wave is something that is used in the probe and the pad. It's a smaller pad, and that's because it's much better for inflammation. Mitochondrial upregulation, incorporating a greater biological window with regard to stacking frequencies is better with the Sawtooth wave. But for sheer inflammation or inflammatory conditions, the square wave is excellent. And that is why that is used in an alternate sense with these other applicators, because of the anti-inflammatory effects. Now we're going to go into a little bit about those brainwave frequencies we're talking about and how they're incorporated into the mat via the Chinese organ clock.
I just wanted to say that this is, again, a built-in part of your IMRS device that's really awesome. So the time that people tend to wake up most frequently, literally around the globe, is between 1 and 3. So that's liver time. So this is why people who use the mat on a regular basis start sleeping well, because we're actually activating that time of day. So it's really essential that we give the best possible nutrition to our bodies at these given times, but also to get the frequencies that our body needs. So this is just a good representation of the different wavelengths that our body is asking for, and that we can assure that we're getting it when we're using this technology. Okay, of course, again, it's great to be outdoors. There are a lot of people who say, well, I don't think I need one of those because I go barefoot. You know, I go barefoot like once a week, or I try to get outdoors as much as possible, but it's still not the same as being in these healthy frequencies. So this is just another representation of how invaluable this system is to your body on a cellular, but also an organ level.
In a simplified sense, the settings for morning are going to incorporate a beta wave, afternoon alpha wave, evening theta wave, and at night delta waves into that sawtooth waveform. So that's kind of the quick and dirty if you're wondering what that represents. And with regard to the organ clock, it repeats at intervals throughout the night. I mean, most people aren't using it early in the morning. They're asleep by then, but it also will incorporate those into these sleep cycles, or if you're awake, you're going to be experiencing these waves during those time periods.
If anyone is wondering, like, where did this technology come from? Like, how did this, tell us about the advent of PEMF. And what I know is that German, Russian, and Austrian scientists and medical doctors came together about 25 or so years ago, just understanding the natural evolution of the Earth. The Earth goes through its cycles. And we're in one right now where that magnetic field, the healthy magnetic, the Schumann resonant field of the Earth, in which all life depends, is diminished to like half of what it used to be just in the last 60 years. So when the scientists and doctors came together, they're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to help humanity when this is the case? So not only is it the electrified times, it's just that we do not, in terms of the measurement in microtesla of what this healthy field is half of what it used to be. So another important message here as to why it's so essential to us at this time.
Now we're looking,
it will always be.
Looking here at the ISLRS, again, we're talking about the formations of these brainwave patterns that are built into the sound and light system. As with the sawtooth wave, the sound and light will generate these patterns via a binaural beat and also flashing lights simultaneously, and mimic or actually match the waveforms generated by the mat for the time of day that you're using it via the organ clock. So again, the delta's night, theta's evening, alpha would be afternoon, beta in the morning. And you also have the opportunity to change the color of the light that you're looking at based on how you're feeling or at the time of day, and also the music that you're listening to. So this is something, again, it's really important, not only talking about upregulating the mitochondria, we're talking about also strengthening or balancing the brain, which is very, 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 very important.
I like how you wrote that, the spa for the brain, Thomas. And a lot of these slides are new that you're seeing today based on feedback, people who wanted to hear more about how the sound and light works. That's why we put together these slides. So great overview, Thomas.
Now we're going to go into a little bit about the technology in this particular device, the Swiss Bionic systems. Again, a lot of the research, the early research, was done by NASA. And if you look at the top picture, you can see the Swiss Bionics products have these very tightly wound copper coils that will create the cleanest and most intact magnetic fields. Whereas you can see this is another device that uses a very, very different type of geometry that does not produce as tight or as clean. The difference in technologies with regard to various PEMF devices. The Swiss Bionics products that we're talking about, specifically the IMRS and Omnium one, are, as you can see from the top photo, made with very tightly wound circular copper coils. And these are the types of designs that NASA developed for the spacesuits that the astronauts wore while they were in space. And the reason that they use this tightly wound circular copper coil is that it produces the cleanest, most intact magnetic field. The photo below, you can see that the geometry is a little different. It's not as tightly wound, and actually, if you were to look even more closely at this design, there's separations or spaces or gaps between the windings, which results in a much weaker, less intact magnetic field. So the therapeutic value of the IMRS and Omnium one is the highest possible for this type of technology. So that's something to really remember. And again, this goes back to the NASA studies, the NASA designs. They spent an awful lot of time and money developing the most effective, safest types of equipment for their people. So this is something that you're going to be getting with the Swiss Bionics product. You're going to get the highest quality. So to continue on, I know Robyn really likes to talk about the grapes versus raisins analogy when it comes to cellular health. And the graphic here certainly shows the difference between the two types of cellular responses when you're subjecting the body to electromagnetic fields. So Robyn, did you want to talk a little bit about these two slides?
Sure. So when I first was introduced to this technology in 2008 and we bought our first mat, I actually had someone who did live blood cell analysis here. So gosh, in the first 6 months, we tested like 600 people at least, doing a before and after, just so people could really see the reality of what happens in just 8 minutes when you're in this field. So this is a perfect example of showing what your red blood cells look like often before you're in this field. So the raisin effect is when we have inflammation, that's when we're not digesting very well, that's when we're not absorbing our nutrients, and we're certainly not getting oxygen. Oxygen is so important. And what the Austrians and the Russian scientists realized is when you're in this healthy field, the PEMF field, you're actually increasing oxygen utilization up to 200%. So this is what very often on the left side, you see the cells there, the red blood cells, they're clumped together. And this, again, is, when we're feeling fatigued, when we're not sleeping well, when we're just not, thriving in life. So simply by being in the field, and also we like to say, you want to be hydrated. We've already emphasized that. You want to have good minerals, and you want to have the best possible diet, in terms of how you're nourishing yourself with every single meal, to choose food from nature as often as possible. And then you have this effect within 8 minutes where your cells look like grapes. So what does that mean? That means that the red blood cells have hemoglobin in it, right? And so the magnetic field, that interaction with the hemoglobin in your red blood cells actually causes your red blood cells to repel, to separate. And that just allows for the immune system even to work much more efficiently. So you see a lot more activity with the white blood cells after PEMF. Sometimes people are so inflamed and are so worn out that it takes more than 8 minutes. So that's why you have a choice of 8, 16, or 24 minutes. Sometimes you just intuitively know, it's been a long day. I just ran 10 miles. I just had a hard workout. I've had a really stressful day, that you might want more than 8 minutes. But really, in terms of charging up your cells, that's really what you need. One thing that I mentioned in a lot of my talks is we learned a lot when Yuri Gagarin went into space in 1961. He was only 31 years of age, and they didn't realize how important it was that we had this Schumann resonance, that we had these earthing frequencies around our body, right? And this is certainly what astronauts always use. They're always dressed appropriately now because we can't survive when we are out of this healthy field of the earth, this Schumann resonance. So essentially, in today's world, we really need to think about how we can be around healthy electrical fields as often as possible. So we're having this raisin to grape effect on a regular basis. I mean, naturally, we are going to always be detoxing, but we need this extra support right now. So this is the best representation, but it took me, again, my very skeptical mind when I first learned about this technology, I had to like prove it to me. I want to really see what happens. So, and also when someone makes this type of investment, or certainly for other practitioners, when they actually get to see this within their own body, they're like, wow, I see how important that this is, in addition to, like we say, the other important pathways to really thrive. Again, mentioning the hydration and eating really healthy foods, staying away from all processed foods. So you will feel a heck of a lot better.
So we're going to also talk a little bit more about some of the evidence with regard to the therapeutic value of PEMF. And I know Robyn likes to talk about this as well. This is fairly old photographs. This is how long PEMF has been around in the therapeutic field. And this is a subject that had a fracture and then had implants. Did you want to take it from here, Robyn?
Well, sure. And just to follow up on what I was saying about Yuri Gagarin, one of the things that happened, he was only in space for like 2 hours, actually less than 2 hours. And what happened was his perception decreased. He was terribly depressed, bone density loss immediately. So here's an example. In the first slide here, this is a 40-year-old man who obviously had a pretty bad fracture, and he had to have this apparatus put in his ankle. And you can see that after 4 years, this was not healing. You can see that, right, in the first slide. After a few months of using PEMF, that fracture started to heal finally. And so being in the field on a regular basis, what you see in slides C is that his bone healed so well that they had to remove that apparatus. They had to move that hardware from his ankle. And it was like a miracle, because they were just like, why was he not healing? What was going on? But this is what happens for a lot of us, from a simple cut to, if we have an open incision. People are just noticing that their bodies are not healing as quickly, that they don't understand it. A lot of it, again, has to do with the fact that we're not in these healthy fields as much as we need to be. We're indoors way too much. We're not eating really healthy foods. Therefore, our body is suffering. So this is a prime example of how powerful this is in terms of restoring healthy bones. And there's a story of a woman, Dr. Carmichael's patients, who had to have a hip replacement, bone against bone. And her bone density was so low that they said, you know what, we can't, you're not in really good health. We don't think it's a good idea for you to have surgery. So she used the PEMF for 6 months, restored healthy bone function. Because again, it's never just of the hip bone or just the knee bones. It's showing a pattern that's happening throughout the whole body. It's just like cancer is not just of the breast. It's not just of the brain. I mean, it's a systemic issue. That's why this technology, along with these important pathways, are so critical, because we want to always be producing healthy bones. And also, how are we utilizing calcium and magnesium and vitamin D and K2? We are going to actually absorb and enhance the circulation of all the goodness of what we're putting in our body better when we're in these healthy fields. Anything else you want to say about this, Tom?
Again, just wanted to relate back to the fact that, again, we're looking at the effects on the mitochondria, and you can see how positive the effects are on basically the part of the cell that allows us to live and survive. And when you have that kind of upregulation, you can see on a larger scale the effects on organs, because the mitochondria, what used to be called an organelle, even other components of the cells make up organs, they make up larger structures. And you can see at that very basic, simple level, the upregulation of the very core and most basic part of us results in, better bone building. And as you'll see in the next slide, and as in the previous slide, better blood cell integrity, better blood cell health. And in the next slide, less inflammation in the body. And I know this is another slide you like to talk about as well with regard to PEMF and infrared thermography.
Yes, this is another great technology that a lot of people are using to look at hot spots in the body. So when people get mammograms to detect if there's any type of breast abnormalities, but this is another way, again, of looking at the entire body to see where there's differences in temperature. So very often when there's areas of concern, they're called hot spots. So they tend to look white on a thermogram. And what you can see 8 minutes after being on the mat, that there's better distribution of energy. We call it qi in Chinese medicine. Blood is flowing better, fluids are flowing much more efficiently. And so I was able to do a before and after with a 23-year-old friend of mine at the time, for both of us just to see, and he was a real buff athlete, and it was really great for him to see the shift that happened. So it's no wonder that people who exercise on a regular basis, as much as it's good for our health, there's also a wear and tear. There's this catabolic effect that happens. So this is very essential in terms of just moving toxins out of the system. So I just love this representation too of how effective PEMF technology is.
Yes.
A big message here too, Tom, is we're talking about longevity. I mean, a lot of us really care about living a long, healthy life, that you can see that when you're in this field at least twice a day, 8 minutes twice a day, we call it like brushing your teeth for your cells, how much better you're going to feel, how much better you're going to age despite your lifestyle.
Absolutely. It's one of the ultimate biohacks because, it definitely corrects some deficiencies that we encounter, whether they be by default or design. And it's kind of a necessary thing in this day and age to have these things because, despite our best efforts, there are times and places where we are exposed to toxicity in every way, shape, and form. And here's another little tidbit: pets. And those of you that were with us last time, we talked about this. And animals are living organisms that have mitochondria and have the same requirements and needs that we do. So they certainly would benefit from this technology as well.
Mm-hmm. We can't underestimate how important it is for our four-legged cats and dogs and horses. In fact, this company actually makes a product called the Pulse, which is just like this nice blanket that goes over the body of a horse. So it's used worldwide for that reason. And horses respond super, super well to this. So it's just nice. I mean, just about everyone who has one at home and has an animal or two or three, I mean, it's like a little party on the mat, which is really cool. And some people ask, wait, do I really, if my husband, has, if we want to be on together, do we really need two mats or we can use one? Well, again, just to emphasize that this creates a field 3 feet above and 3 feet below. Absolutely, you could just lie on the mat together. You could have even, a mother, father, and 2 kids on the mat, and you're all going to be in this healthy field. And Tom, did you demonstrate you did the electromagnetic pollution of a computer? Can you just show?
That slide's coming up where we talk about the calcium.
Jumping ahead.
Unless you'd like me to do it now.
Well, I just want to share again in Turbo, the dog on the right. Turbo, when he was first exposed to this healthy frequency because his whole family uses the mat. This is about 7-8 years ago. It's a pretty incredible story because Turbo had lots of hip issues, was aging, his personality had shifted. I mean, he was just not very well. They didn't think that he was going to live much longer. Well, Turbo lived full 7 years. He just passed away about, 6 months ago or a year ago. And it just shows how much our animals are deprived of this healthy field. We all are, for that matter. So it's just great. And there are people who, I swear, people care about their own bodies, certainly, but there are people who care a heck of a lot more about their animals and will take better care of their animals and feed their animals better than they feed themselves. So just know this is another great benefit of actually owning one of these and making this investment.
Just to interject, if anybody is interested in the version for horses, it's actually called the IMRS Fauna specifically, and it is as Dr. Benson said, it is literally like a jacket or coat that you would put over the horse. For a smaller animal such as a dog or a cat, obviously the mats designed for humans would be suitable, perfectly fine for a smaller animal. Let me minimize the screen share for a second, and then Robyn wanted to talk about electromagnetic pollution and how to measure that. So let me see here. Okay. Can you see me again?
I can see you.
Okay, now this is, you can see it, and forgive the for sale, ask about me, probably in reverse, but this is our house model. I'm going to pop it out of sleep mode, and I'm going to put this right up to the screen. You can probably see it. Can you see that, Robyn?
Yep.
This, and you can see how the needle is in the red, and it's right up against the monitor. And you can see that the field is not pulsating, it's static. This is what the problem is with electromagnetic pollution. It's not so much the intensity, rather the frequency, and frequencies that pulsate are far superior to ones that do not. And so it's really a combination of creating an electromagnetic field within the biological window that pulsates, that's far healthier for your cells than a frequency outside the biological window that is static. And that's what this little device allows us to detect. It's also great to verify that the mat's working, that your investment is working. That's why we're actually giving a free Gauss meter to anyone that buys this technology, because we feel it's a necessary thing to have, just to verify the instrumentation, and also to clear your house. You know, if say you're sleeping in a part of your house where you have a very strong static electromagnetic field, you are not going to sleep very well. And we've had a lot of people use these to clear their space, and they've seen dramatic results by simply just shifting the bed around, or maybe, you know, moving to the other side of the bed, or moving to the center of the room, that sort of thing. And so anywhere you're spending a lot of time, you want to make sure that you do not have a static electromagnetic field that registers on this Gauss meter. Otherwise, you're really doing yourself a lot of harm.
I'll have to give 2 examples. We had a patient, a 14-year-old young man who was not sleeping. He was getting chronic sinus infections, like sick all the time. And his parents were like, what the heck is going on? We just don't understand why his immune system is so weak. So they took the Gauss meter home, and they just checked everywhere around his room to find out, you know, was there something in his room? Because I figured there's something is not right about this scenario. So they used the Gauss meter like above his bed, and it was in the red zone. So what Tom just showed you, it was in the red zone, the static energy off the charts. They didn't know that there was this electrical panel right behind the head of his bed. So you can imagine why he was anxiety, and his immune system was not working. And he didn't have to move out of the room. They just had to move the bed to another part of the room. Again, proximity really matters. When we educate our clientele on the importance of electrohygiene, anything that's near your head within 3 to 6 feet, you really need to unplug. And for that matter, turn off your Wi-Fi at night. It totally shifts the quality of so many people's sleep when that measure is put in place.
Yeah.
night for the whole house, the whole family, for your animals too. I mean, this is the biggest message ever in this time, and to share with all your friends and family. A lot of the pearls of what you've learned in this webinar, share this message, because you will find that probably a third of all your friends are not sleeping. They're dealing with, weight issues. They cannot lose weight no matter what. They're suffering with immune systems that are really weak. So this is a really important piece of the solution, a very important information that you want to share with all your loved ones.
Absolutely. I can attest to this. I actually took one home for a few days and checked my room, and my clock radio was emitting an incredibly strong electromagnetic pulse, which was extending about halfway into the into my bed where my head was. And I realized, wow, this is not good. So I actually got rid of the clock radio, and I recommend that you do that for other reasons as well, because the lights emanating from your clock radios sometimes can keep you awake if it's not the right kind of light. So there are a lot of issues with alarms and things like that, and as Robyn said, Wi-Fi if it's in your room, and there other things we can go into at a later date. If you want to give us a call, email us. I have some tips on how to get better sleep with regard to using technologies or omitting certain technologies, but certainly cleaning your space or clearing your space of electromagnetic pollution is a very good first step. I'm going to go back to screen share here.
Okay, I'm going to also just say, I talked to you all about my major sleep issue in a lot of my life. And what I didn't know is that the clock radio that was next to my head, I mean, pretty much, I can't even, all throughout college, all throughout high school, I always had a clock radio right near my head. Clock radios emit a lot of electromagnetic pollution. And so I believe that was a huge factor. And I think over the years of marathon running and working, 70, 80 hours a week, my system was really in a crisis. And so it's no wonder that at some point when the perfect storm happens, so again, it's being in those electromagnetic fields that are toxic as opposed to the healthy fields of the earth. So we're always trying to help people differentiate the two, and getting out of that field as much as possible. And then also finding out, I hired somebody who wrote a book called Healthy Living Homes, Dan Stye he's actually here in Santa Fe. I thought when I was at that crisis point in 2008 that what the real issue was mold, or there was just something toxic in the air in my house. And what he found out, he actually brought like a $4,000 Gauss meter. So Tom and I have this one we're going to give all of you that make this investment for like $40. That I was getting all these negative, I was getting a lot of negative pollution from a cell tower that was, okay, so I have a water tower above my house that actually is the water that is distributed to about 10,000 people in my community. And on top of that water tower, there's at least 20, 25 telecommunication devices. And it was so off the charts. It's like, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, there's no wonder you're not sleeping, and this is probably impacting your whole entire family. So we did a lot of remediation in terms of electrohygiene. We're still in that house, and certainly using the mat on a regular basis has been really helpful. So we're taking this extra time, this webinar, to really share more of these types of stories with you, to understand that this just might be what's at the root of your health challenges. Again, whether it's insomnia, whether it's achiness in your joint, whether you have a skin issue, when the body's not detoxifying, then we're challenged, and when we're not absorbing all the goodness of life into ourselves. So it's something starts to shift. So we want to bring you back into this limitless you.
So we want to talk a little bit about, some of the benefits for people that are very active, the people that really want to optimize their energy, their health, their performance. And so we've created a few slides here to, again, review some of the benefits for the human body, or the indications for the human body, for people that are generally very healthy and active. And so if you're using PEMF, you're going to see a reduction in lactic acid buildup. You're going to see a recovery. Remember that square wave helps to reduce inflammation and also to accelerate tissue healing. You get a boost in immunity because you have better mitochondrial function, bone health, as we saw a few slides ago. And ultimately, the healthier your mitochondria are, the longer you live. There's something called the NAD to NADH ratio. And we talked a little bit about that earlier with regard to mitochondrial function and energy production. And the greater that ratio is, there is definitely a direct link between that and the time, the length that you live, or your longevity, I guess is the best word. The higher the amount of NADH you have versus NAD, or I'm sorry, the greater the amount of NAD you have versus NADH, the longer you will live. And then, of course, again, reduced pain. Again, that square wave is really good for post-exercise soreness because of the anti-inflammatory effects, and also the increase in nitric oxide is going to help with the acid-base balance a bit.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the acid-base balance. That is so critical for a healthy body. And so that's something else. That's a great benefit, just using the mat 8 minutes at a time. Your body will become more, we tend to be more acidic, which is, that's also something that increases aging. So if you have that acid-alkaline balance more regularly in your body, that is going to, you just feel better. You have better moods. When we have acid moods, that's usually when we're stressed, when we're moving fast, when we're, just feeling, drained. Seriously, that acid effect is not just on the physiological cellular level. It also is evident in our emotions. So if we want to have a more balanced life in terms of just feeling good, feeling more joy and happiness, we want to establish more of that alkaline nature. We want to increase the alkaline nature in our body.
Again, that goes back to the fact that, again, you have this mitochondrial upregulation. You're burning oxygen, fat for energy, and using oxygen. And, you're not in a lactate energy pathway, which causes the acid state, and also the inflammation and the really poor feelings and the poor state of health that you experience. So again, it's really, really, really important to have these mitochondria working well. The next slide, again, we want to talk about just the everyday person and some of the things they're likely to experience. People that are maybe moderately active, but aren't in a disease state, they're again going to certainly see an increase in energy because of that ATP production, better moods. If you're burning, if you're utilizing oxygen, and again you're more alkaline, less inflammation, you're going to feel better. You're going to think faster. You're going to be able to make. You're going to methylate, so you're going to be able to make neurotransmitters. You're going to have an increased immunity. Again, better bone health, longevity, and decreased pain. So this it's not only good for athletes. Obviously, there's a component that specifically is really good for performance, but also just everyday health. So we want to move on a little bit here to the fact that, again, we want to offer people this Gauss meter that buy an MRS unit, because we really feel, we do believe that this is an important part of the technology. It's not enough just to have this technology. You want to make sure that the rest of your world is as pollution-free as possible. Did you want to talk a little bit about this, Robyn?
It's just a great tool to have. I mean, take it when you travel. It's amazing. Like what I've learned, like being on airplanes, when I'm in hotels, how much negative electromagnetic pollution is in the field. And just to ensure a restful night, I just unplug everything around my head. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you literally are plugged in most hotels because of the Wi-Fi everywhere. And literally where you're sleeping at night, you're behind that wall is like the TV and all kinds of lights and things that are plugged in. So it's just so useful, and share it with your friends. I mean, when you go into other people's homes, I mean, people love to learn about this. I mean, honestly, it can be life-changing. So for this great little tool, this is something that you'll get with your investment, and we'll certainly, share more about how to use it. When you come in January, we've got, again, quite a few people that are joining us in January. We are going to go through all of this. So you will get the overall bird's eye view of like, oh my goodness, this thing does so much. I want to have this, and I want to utilize it, and I want to share it with as many people as possible.
Yes, absolutely. I wonder if somebody had ever done an experiment by taking it on an airplane, what the electromagnetic. That would be a curious. They would appreciate it. Blair,
just want to mention, one of the things that we promise is to talk about how to travel with your IMRS or your Omnium. What's really cool is that you can buy a car adapter. So you can actually, let's say if you're a passenger in a car, you can actually use the smaller kidney pad. I've driven like 7, 8, 9 hours when I do my annual trip to Wyoming, where I'll have that pad right on my lap, or just put it on my back. And just being in that healthy PMF field, you arrive at your destination feeling fresh. Also, you can get an extra battery pack to use with your IMRS. So you can actually use it on the plane. But for many of us, what we do is we carry, and I advise that you do this anyway, is that you bring the brain, because that's your big investment, is the brain of the IMRS, or the Android, the actual Android, it looks like an iPad. So just take that on the plane with you, and you can actually use a smaller kidney pad as well. So that's protecting you in those 2 or 3 hours that you're on an airplane. So I've taken my mat to 17 countries, or I mean, seriously, 17 countries. Why? Because it's 22 pounds. It's not a big deal. I just put my running stuff in there. It's always great if I buy extra stuff. It's never been a problem for me. And, I've only had trouble maybe in 2 countries, Israel and Mexico. I think in what used to happen, sometimes when the temperature would change greatly, like especially if you had the brain underneath the plane in the very cold temperatures, that could affect the actual efficacy of the brain. So that's not a good thing. So there's been some issues, but these are things that the company has remedied. It's awesome. I mean, as Tom points out, when the first iPhone came out, there were issues. When the first Tesla came out, there were issues. I mean, so what's really cool, again, about making this investment today is that that everything is working. We're happy to say everything is working. So we've gone through 7 years of a little bit of ups and downs, but that's going to happen when you have new technology. This company has been really what do I want to say? They've really taken big risk. I mean, to be the only company in the world that a PMF system by Android, and that's pretty awesome. We're happy to say that the Omnium one is working great now, and so and also it's a 3-year warranty. So the company is really great to work with.
We want to talk a little bit about this next slide here. It's actually now the Swiss Bionics products are a licensed medical device in Canada. And that's a really, really big deal, especially in Canada. Their version of the FDA is far stricter than ours, believe it or not. And if they approve something, usually the rest of the world follows because their standards are so high. And they have recently actually made this an approved medical device that can be prescribed and billed through insurance companies in Canada for its use, for its home use. So that's a really, really big deal, and it's the only PMF device that has obtained this licensure. So we want to, of course, talk a little bit about, some of the nuts and bolts. The devices obviously have warranties. If you're worried about breakage, they come with a 3-year warranty. And then, of course, we have a lot of clinical experience then we're happy to share that with you and be your partners in this process of learning how to apply PEMF to your daily lives. And so, you know, we're here for you to support you in every way that we can. The contact information.
I just want to add, this is a relationship building in technology, so we really care to help support all of our people that make this investment. And sometimes people will buy one online and then they're really upset and they call us and say, you know, we don't know what to do. Well, what setting do I use for my low back pain? You're going to get that with our support. So, and then there are also Diane Bays, who is online today, and Hermina from Colorado. There's some fantastic people that we love to work with. That they also represent this company, and so we highly recommend working with them as well.
Absolutely. The contact info for us obviously is going to be here in Santa Fe. If you want to reach out to us, here's our number, 505-986-1089. Or you can email me if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the technology, or you want to purchase a unit. This is how you're going to get in touch with us. Also, right now, through the end of the month, there is a promotion. The company usually has some sort of promotion every month, but this month, in particular, they're actually doing something they've never done before. They're giving away a free sound and light and professional upgrade with a purchase of the IMRS. Not the Omnium. The Omnium is a slightly different model. That's the portable Android-based system, which is fine. It's great if you're into portability. You know, we can talk more about whether or not that's the right fit for you, but if you're interested in the IMRS version, the upgrades are amazing. As you can see, it's almost a $1,600 savings when you make the investment, in that you're getting these free upgrades, which are really, really, really cool. They're really, really awesome.
Tom, I'm just going to compliment you on that beautiful slide. Actually, Tom put this whole presentation together. He is not only is he an incredible clinical assistant that all of our patients love, but he's super creative, and I just want to say that you put that together very well. So we're really excited that this offer is still available through the end of the month, as Tom mentioned. So this is your great opportunity. And again, because this is an investment, we wanted to take this extra time. I think we're well over an hour and a half to be really comprehensive and to say, you know, we don't want you to just get this and not have the support. You have that support from us, but also to if you've never been to Santa Fe, here's a great opportunity for you to come in January to spend a day with us. Also to learn about our biooptimization BIOHACK center that we're going to be opening in February, and to really see how we work with our patients and all the different offerings we have. Again, we have seen amazing things happen, people reversing chronic disease. So we're going to just do a quick overview. We promised 8 different things that we're going to talk about, which we've already done, that was going to be a part of this particular webinar. We've already covered every single one of them, but we're going to do a very quick review. Again, we want you to feel confident in having this and knowing that you have this for a lifetime. This is not something like, oh, yay, it's Christmas time or the holidays or birthday time, and I'm going to use it for a week. I mean, this is meant for you to get into the mindset that this is something that I need to do and care to do every single day of your life. Every day of your life, again, to ensure healthy cells. And it was Linus Pauling and many others who just said, you know, we are as healthy as our 70 trillion cells. So Tom, let's go down this list again, just as a review. This is only going to take 5 minutes.
Sure,
and so I'll start with number 1. So we promised to tell you about home, car, air travel, and office use. Again, you see how we're using this in our office setting. If you happen to have a desk job, a computer job, and you own one of these, just bring the brain and bring the smaller kidney pillow, and you're able to use it. If you have the Omnium, it's even easier, you know, because it's a little bit smaller, but you can also just carry it to work. Absolutely for travel. You can use it. The Omnium one is really a little bit easier because it's run by the Android, or when you're, you know, in between flights, you can just plug it in while you're waiting for your second your second flight and just use it for 8 minutes. It's just great. I mean, especially for people who travel on a regular basis. And it was a big message in my book, the necessary use of PEMF if you travel on a regular basis like I do and so many people do. I mean, even car travel. I mean, who feels great after being in a car after 10 hours? So just know you can plug it in. If you have the Omnium, if you have it fully charged, you've got like 4 or 5 hours that you're able to use it. So we just want to bring this into all the ways in which you're traveling through life. Number 2, you want to do number 2, Tom? Chronic insomnia and pain.
Insomnia and pain. Again, the waveform, specifically the square wave, is fantastic for reducing inflammation, resolving pain issues, and increasing or enhancing recovery, or reducing the intervals between recovery states. And of course, insomnia, if you get this parasympathetic upregulation from the Sawtooth wave, that really allows you to access a more relaxed state. Very important if you're having insomnia issues, and that usually indicates you're in this sympathetic overdrive. So again, it allows you to access the parasympathetic pathways because it encourages them again, that's something built into the Sawtooth wave. So both tend to get resolved with the use of this equipment fairly quickly, actually. And then, of course, immunity, when we have the cellular upregulation, we have you saw that slide, better blood, better looking blood. The white blood cells are able to actually function and proliferate. You're going to have a super immune response. And again, going back to the pre-post surgery and pre-post athletic event, again, you have that cellular upregulation, that mitochondrial regulation. You're going to have more oxygen, more available oxygen to utilize. You're going to have less inflammation, quicker tissue healing. So it's fantastic for the athletes in our audience.
I just want to add, for all of the athletes that are listening to this, and for anybody who exercises, I mean, this is great to use your mat 8 minutes before you go on a run, or before you go on a fast walk, or before you power lift. It really helps to increase that mitochondrial ATP function and production. And so it's just once you start using it and you see the value and you think, my God, I recover so much faster when I use PEMF, you'll see why this is essential, and why there are athletes around the world that use this on a regular basis and consider it they're one of the most essential things that they do, not only for recovery, but also for high performance. So all of us care to be high performers, right? Whether it's being a super mom, or it's you really want to perform better at work, you want to have better quality life. I always talk about this, like we said in one of the first slides. This will increase the quality of your life, your attitude, and also the longevity of your life.
You wanted to talk a little bit about biocharging your water and food, Robyn. I think
well, you can just actually, when you're on the mat, just put your water on the mat too. That's gonna enhance the absorption of water into your cells, because again, your cells are going to be more bioavailable to all the goodness of life. Like again, when we give treatments, when I do acupuncture, IV therapies, prolozone injections, we do ultraviolet blood treatments, we do all kinds of really cool things here, and we know that the effect is much greater when people's cells are optimized. So you can put water, you can put your food on the mat. Also, one time when Greg Meeser from Florida, who runs North America, actually he runs the whole business here in the United States, he was visiting, and we were working with a doctor in Albuquerque, and this woman who does bee therapy came in. And so the bees were all kind of restless, they were just kind of anxious. So she put the little container with the bees in it on the mat. Put the mat on. So can you imagine the effect of the bees? Can you imagine when you put these bees in this sawtooth wave, these earthy frequencies? This is Mother Nature. This is what birds and whales and all dolphins, all of life for that matter. Again, the insects even. I mean, this is the frequencies in which we all thrive. So the bees just chilled. They just calmed down. It was just amazing to see in just like 2 or 3 minutes. the shift that happened when these bees went from her car to this healthy magnetic field of the mat. It was awesome. So that just happened last year. So that was just another opportunity for all of us to see the magnificence of bringing nature into your homes, certainly to enhance the health of your body.
Yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about enhancing brain creativity function, and of course, we talked a little bit about those brainwave frequencies and how they were incorporated into the Sawtooth wave and sound and light. So absolutely, you're going to see a difference or notice a difference in your creativity, in your thinking. Also, when you have that parasympathetic upregulation, you'll find you're less likely to be reactive in situations that would normally stress you out and cause you to go into fight or flight. So definitely, you will notice a big difference in those areas as well.
And then finally, we just want to, again, for animals, horses, cats, dogs, birds, snakes, all animals really do better being in this field. So again, that's just another aspect. So when you think about making this investment, you think, wow, it's good for my children, it's good for my animals, it's good for my exercise routine, all these rituals, how you wake up in the morning and how you go to bed at night. Again, this has just been an honor to have this time with you, to share the best of our 7 years of using this technology. We could spend literally hours and hours of sharing stories of what the shifts that people have had over the 7 years. Our patients and certainly people who've made the investment, several hundred people have, and we're as excited about it today as we were when we first started using it, and probably even more so because we've learned so much more about the power of this technology, and we're really grateful that this benevolent technology is available to all of us right now. So if you have any further questions, again, call us at 986-1089. That's area code 505-986-1089. And you can also reach Tom at santafesoul.com. Pretty much Monday through Friday, we are here to answer your questions. So again, thank you for being here, all of you from the Bulletproof conference that we met. We really enjoyed sharing this technology with you and loved answering your questions and your enthusiasm for adding this into your life. We want to thank all the practitioners, again, from around the globe that are going to listen to this or joining us live here, that really care to bring this device, this wellness technology into their practices to optimize every single treatment that they're offering their clientele. And then just for all the people that have been using this in their home, that you are already have made this investment and you're just wanting to learn more, we're really thrilled that you're showing up because, again, there's always a pearl. Every single time you listen to a webinar or you listen to somebody speak about PEMF, Dr. Gordon is a really good friend of us, a good friend of ours, and he's a big spokesperson. He's 82 years old. He's the father of chelation. I mean, the guy's brilliant. He's written so many books. He travels the globe. This is one of his biggest messages of all that he is sharing with the world, is that we all need PMF. So again, thanks for being with us. Tom, awesome to co-host this with you. And again,
Yes,
we're just a phone call away.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome.